Alright, let's go. We are back. Pages 35 and beyond. Tuesday, September 29th, 1942. Dear Kitty, extraordinary things can happen to people who go into hiding. Just imagine, as there is no bath, we use a wash tub, and because there is hot water in the office, by which I always mean the whole of the lower floor, all 7 of us take it in turns to make use of this great luxury. But because we are all so different, and some are more modest than others, each member of the family has found his own place for carrying out the performance. Peter uses the kitchen in spite of its glass door. When he is going to have a bath, he goes to each one of us in turn and tells us that we must not walk past the kitchen for half an hour. He seems to think this is sufficient. Mr. Vandant goes right upstairs. To him, it is worth the bother of carrying hot water all the way so as to have the seclusion of his own room. Mrs. Vandant simply doesn't bathe at all, present. She is waiting to see which is the best place. Daddy has his own bath in the private office. Mummy behind a fire guard in the kitchen. Margot and I have chosen the front office for our scrub. The curtains there are drawn on Saturday afternoon, so we wash ourselves in semi-darkness. However, I don't like this place any longer, and since last week, I've been on the lookout for more comfortable quarters. Peter gave me an idea, and that was to try the large office WC. There I can sit down, have the light on, and lock the door, pour my own bath water away, and I'm safe from prying eyes. I tried my beautiful bathroom on Sunday for the first time, and although it sounds mad, I think it is the best place of all. Last week, the plumber was at work downstairs to move the drains and water pipes from the office, WC, to the passage. This change is a precaution. Excuse me, my puppy's, well, she's laying down there, but I thought I saw her, and I got distracted. My bad. Alright, I tried my beautiful bathroom on Sunday for the first time, and although it sounds mad, I think it is the best place of all. Last week, the plumber was at work downstairs to move the drains and water pipes from the office WC to the passage. This change is a precaution against frozen pipes, in case we should have a cold winter. The plumber's visit was far from pleasant for us. Not only were we unable to draw water the whole day, but we would not go on to WC either. Now it is rather indecent to tell you what we did to overcome this difficulty. However, I'm not such a prude that I can't talk about these things. The day we arrived here, Daddy and I improvised a potty for ourselves. Not having a better receptacle, we sacrificed a glass preserving jar for this purpose. During the plumber's visit, nature's offerings were deposited in these jars in the sitting room during the day. I don't think this was nearly as bad as having to sit still and not talk the whole day. You can't imagine what a trial that was for Miss Quack Quack. I have to whisper on ordinary days, but not being able to speak or move was 10 times worse. After being flattened by 3 days of continuous sitting, my bottom was very stiff and painful. Some exercises at bedtime helped. Yours, Anne. Thursday, October 1st, 1942. Dear Kitty, I got a terrible shock yesterday. Suddenly at 8 o'clock the bell rang loudly. Of course, I thought that someone had come. You'll guess who I mean. But I calmed down a bit when everyone said it must be some urchins or perhaps the postman. The days are becoming very quiet here. Lewin, a small Jewish chemist and dispenser, works for Mr. Kraler in the kitchen. He knows the whole building well, and therefore we are always afraid that he'll take it into his head to have a peep in the old laboratory. We are as quiet as mice, who 3 months ago would have ever guessed that Quicksilver Ann could have to sit still for hours, and what's more could. The 29th was Mrs. Vandant's birthday. Although it could not be celebrated in a big way, we managed a little party in her honor, with a specially nice meal, and she received some small presents and flowers. Red carnations from her husband, seemed to be a family tradition. To pause for a moment on the subject of Mrs. Vandant, I must tell you that her attempts to flirt with Daddy are a source of continual irritation for me. She strokes his face and hair, pulls her skirt right up, and makes so-called witty remarks, trying in this way to attract Pim's attention. Pim, thank goodness, doesn't find her either attractive or funny, so he doesn't play ball. Mommy doesn't behave like that with Mr. Vandant. I've said that to Mrs. Vandant's face. Now and then, Peter comes out of his shell and can be quite funny. We have one thing in common, from which everyone usually gets a lot of amusement. We both love dressing up. He appeared in one of Mrs. Vandant's very narrow dresses, and I put on his suit. He wore a hat and I a cap. The grown-ups were doubled with laughter, and we enjoyed ourselves as much as they did. Eli has brought new skirts for Margot and me at Birkenkauf's. Bienkorf's. The material is rotten, just like sacking, and they cost 24 florins and 7.50 florins respectively. What a difference compared with before the war. Another nice thing I've been keeping up my sleeve. Ellie has written to some secretarial school or other and ordered a correspondence course in shorthand for Margot, Peter, and me. You wait and see what perfect experts we shall be by next year. In any case, it's extremely important to be able to write in a code. Yours, Anne. Saturday, October 3rd, 1942. Dear Kitty, there was another dust-up yesterday. Mummy kicked up a frightful row and told Daddy just what she thought of me. Then she had an awful fit of tears, so, of course, off I went, too, and I got such an awful headache anyway. Finally, I told Daddy that I'm much more fond of him than Mummy, to which he replied that I'd get over that. But I don't believe it. I have to simply force myself to stay calm with her. Daddy wishes that I would sometimes volunteer to help Mummy when she doesn't feel well or has a headache, but I shan't. I am working hard at my French and am now reading La Belle Nivernaise. Yours, Anne. Friday, October 9th, 1942. Dear Kitty, I've only got dismal and depressing news for you today. Our many Jewish friends are being taken away by the dozen. These people are treated by the Gestapo without a shred of decency, being loaded into cattle trucks and sent to Westerbork, the big Jewish camp in Drenthe. Westerbork sounds terrible. Only one washing cubicle for 100 people, and not nearly enough lavatories. There is no separate accommodation. Men, women, and children all sleep together. One hears of frightful immorality because of this. Immorality, yep. And a lot of the women and even girls who stay there any length of time are expecting babies. It is impossible to escape. Most of the people in the camp are branded as inmates by their shaven heads, and many also by their Jewish appearance. If it is as bad as this in Holland, whatever will it be like in the distant and barbarous regions that they are sent to? We assume that most of them are murdered. The English radio speaks of them being gassed. Perhaps this is the quickest way to die. I feel terribly upset. I couldn't tear myself away while Meep told these dreadful stories, and she herself was equally wound up for the matter. Just recently, for instance, a poor old crippled Jewess was sitting on her doorstep. She had been told to wait there by the Gestapo, who had gone to fetch a car to take her away. The poor old thing was terrified by the guns that were shooting at English planes overhead, and by the glaring beams of the searchlights. But Meep did not dare take her in, and no one would undergo such a risk. The Germans strike without the slightest mercy. Ellie, too, is very quiet. Her boyfriend has got to go to Germany. She is afraid that the airmen who fly over our homes will drop their bombs, often weighing 1,000,000 kilos, on Dirk's head. Jokes such as he's not likely to get 1,000,000 and it only takes one bomb are in rather bad taste. Dirk is certainly not the only one who has to go. Trainloads of boys leave daily. If they stop at a small station en route, sometimes some of them manage to get out unnoticed and escape. Perhaps a few manage it. This, however, is not the end of my bad news. Have you ever heard of hostages? That's the latest thing in penalties for sabotage. Can you imagine anything so dreadful? Prominent citizens, innocent people, are thrown into prison to await their fate. If the saboteur can't be traced, the Gestapo simply put about 5 hostages against the wall. Announcements of their death appear in the paper frequently. These outrages are described as the fatal accidents. Nice people, the Germans. To think that I was once one of them too. No, Hitler took away our nationality long ago. In fact, Germans and Jews are the greatest enemies in the world. Yours, Anne. Friday, October 16, 1942. Dear Kitty, I'm terribly busy. I've just translated a chapter out of La Belle Nivernaise and made notes of new words. Then a perfectly foul math problem and 3 pages of French grammar. I flatly refuse to do these math problems every day. Daddy agrees that they're vile. I'm almost better at them than he is, though neither of us are much good, and we often have to fetch Margot. I'm the furthest on of the 3 of us in shorthand. Yesterday I finished The Assault. It's quite amusing, but doesn't touch Jupiter Hill. As a matter of fact, I think Sissy Van Marksveld is a first-rate writer. I shall definitely let my children read her books. Mummy, Margot and I are so thick as thieves again. It's really much better. Margot and I got in the same bed together last evening. It was a frightful squash, but that was just the fun of it. She asked if she could read my diary. I said yes, at least bits of it. And then I asked if I could read hers, and she said yes. Then we got onto the subject of the future. I asked her what she wanted to be, but she wouldn't say and made a great secret of it. I gathered something about tech teaching. I'm not sure if I'm right, but I think so, really. I shouldn't be so curious. This morning I was lying on Peter's bed, having chased him off at first. He was furious with me. Not that I cared very much. He might be a bit more friendly with me for once. After all, I did give him an apple yesterday. I asked Margot if she thought I was very ugly. She said that I was quite attractive and that I had nice eyes. Rather vague, don't you think? Till next time, yours, Anne. Tuesday, October 20th, 1942. Dear Kitty, my hand still shakes, although it's 2 hours since we had the shock. I should explain that there were 5 fire extinguishers in the house. We knew that someone was coming to fill them, but no one had warned us that the carpenter, or whatever you call him, was coming. The result was that we weren't making any attempt to keep quiet until I heard hammering outside on the landing opposite our cupboard door. I thought of the carpenter at once and warned Ellie, who was having a meal with us, that she shouldn't go downstairs. Daddy and I posted ourselves at the door so as to hear when the man left. After he'd been working for a quarter of an hour, he laid his hammer and tools down on top of our cupboard, as we thought, and knocked at our door. We turned absolutely white. Perhaps he had heard something after all and wanted to investigate our secret den. It seemed like it. The knocking, pulling, pushing, and wrenching went on. I nearly fainted at the thought that this utter stranger might discover our beautiful secret hiding place. And just as I thought my last hour was at hand, I heard Mr. Kufia say, "Open the door, it's only me." We opened it immediately. The hook that holds the cupboard, which can be undone by people who know the secret, had got jammed. That was why no one had been able to warn us about the carpenter. The man had now gone downstairs, and Kufias wanted to fetch Ellie, but couldn't open the cupboard again. It was a great relief to me. I can tell you, in my imagination, the man who I thought was trying to get in had been growing and growing in size until in the end he appeared to be a giant and the greatest fastest that ever walked the earth. Well, luckily everything was okay this time. Meanwhile, we had great fun on Monday. Meep and Hank spent the night here. Margot and I went in Mummy and Daddy's room for the night, so that was the Van Santons could have our room. The meal tasted divine. There was one small interruption. Daddy's lamp blew a fuse, and all of a sudden we were sitting in darkness. What was to be done? There was some fuse wires in the house, but the fuse box is right at the very back of the dark stone storeroom. Not such a nice job after dark. Still, the men ventured forth, and after 10 minutes we were able to put the candles away again. I got up early this morning. Hank had to leave at 8:30. After a cozy breakfast, Meep went downstairs. It was pouring, and she was glad not to have to cycle to the office. Next week, Ellie is coming to stay for a night. Yours, Anne. Thursday, October 29th, 1942. Dear Kitty, I am awfully worried. Daddy is ill. He has a high temperature and a red rash. It looks like measles. Think of it, we can't even call a doctor. Mommy is letting him have a good sweat. Perhaps that will send his temperature down. This morning, Meep told us that all of the furniture has been removed from the Van Dan's home. We haven't told Mrs. Van Dan yet. She's such a bundle of nerves already, and we don't feel like listening to another moan over all the lovely china and beautiful chairs that she had left at the house. We had to leave almost all of our nice things behind, so what's the good of grumbling about it now? I'm allowed to read more grown-up books lately. I'm now reading Eva Youth by Nico van Suchelen. I can't see much difference between this and the schoolgirl love stories. It is true, there are bits about women selling themselves to unknown men in back streets. They ask a packet of money for it. I'd die of shame if anything like that happened to me. Also, it says that Eva has a monthly period. Oh, and I'm longing to have it too. It seems so important. Daddy has brought the plays of Goethe and Schiller from the big cupboard. He is going to read to me every evening. We started with Don Carlos. Following Daddy's good example, Mummy has pressed her prayer book into my hand. For decency's sake, I read some of the prayers in German. They are certainly beautiful, but they don't convey much to me. Why does she force me to be pious? Pious. Pious. I never heard that word, obviously. Pious. Pious. And I don't even have my glasses. Pious. Devoutly religious. That makes sense. But I don't even still know how to spell it. Pious, I guess. Okay. Why does she force us to be pious? Just to oblige her. Tomorrow we are going to light the fire for the first time. I expect we shall be suffocated with smoke. The chimney hasn't been swept for ages. Let's hope the thing draws. Yours, Anne. Saturday, November 7th, 1942. Dear Kitty, Mummy is frightfully irritable, and that has always seemed to herald unpleasantness for me. I'm sorry, that sounded great. Just getting over being sick. It is just chance that Daddy and Mummy never rebuke Margot, and that they... Hold on. It is just chance that Daddy and Mummy never rebuke Margot, and that they always drop on me for everything. Yesterday evening, for instance, Margot was reading a book with lovely drawings in it. She got up and went upstairs, put the book down, ready to go on with it later. I wasn't doing anything, so picked up the book and started looking at the pictures. Margot came back, saw her book in my hands, wrinkled her forehead, and asked for the book back. Just because I wanted to look a little further on, Margot got more and more angry. The Mummy joined in. Give the book to Margot. She was reading it. And this is Jenny. She's saying hello. She was reading it, she said. Daddy came into the room. He didn't even know what it was all about, but saw the injured look on Margot's face and promptly dropped on me. Hold on. Promptly dropped on me. I'd like to see what you'd say if Margot ever started looking at one of your books. I gave way at once, laid the book down, and left the room, offended. As they thought it so happened, I was neither offended nor cross, just miserable. It wasn't right of Daddy to judge without knowing what the squabble was about. I would have given Margot the book myself, and much more quickly, if Mummy and Daddy hadn't interfered. They took Margot's part at once, as though she were the victim of some great injustice. It's obvious that Mummy would stick up for Margot. She and Margot always do back each other up. I'm so used to that I'm utterly indifferent to both Mummy's drawing and Margot's moods. I love them, but only because they are Mummy and Margot. With Daddy, it's different. If he holds Margot up as an example, approve of what she does, praises and caresses her, then something gnaws at me inside, because I adore Daddy. He is the one I look up to. I don't love anyone in the world but him. He doesn't notice that he treats Margot differently from me. Now, Margot is just the prettiest, sweetest, most beautiful girl in the world, but all the same, I feel I have some right to be taken seriously, too. I have always been the dunce, the ne'er-do-well of the family. I always had to pay double for my deeds, first with the scolding, and then again because of the way my feelings are hurt. Now I am not satisfied with this apparent favoritism anymore. And this is Christian coming to say hello. I want something from Daddy that he's not able to give me. You want to say hello, Christian? Come here. Want to say hello, Papa? This is Christian. Oh, where'd he go? He's over here. Come here, Christian. Come here, Papa. Come here. You want to say hello? Yeah, Christian Nugget. Christian McNugget. Okay. I'm not jealous of Margot. Never have been. I don't envy her good looks or her beauty. It is only that I long for Daddy's real love, not only as his child, but for me and myself. I cling to Daddy because it is only through him that I am able to retain the remnant of family feeling. Daddy doesn't understand that I need to give vent to my feelings over Mummy sometimes. He doesn't want to talk about it. He simply avoids anything which might lead to remarks about Mummy's failings. Just the same, Mummy and her feelings are something I find harder to bear than anything else. I don't know how to keep it all to myself. I can't always be drawing attention to her untidiness, her sarcasm, and her lack of sweetness. Neither can I believe that I'm always in the wrong. We are exact opposites in everything, so naturally we are bound to run up against each other. I don't pronounce judgment on Mummy's character, for that is something I can't judge. I only look at her as a mother, and she just doesn't succeed in being that to me. I have to be my own mother. I draw myself apart from them all. I am my own skipper, and later on I shall see where I come to land. All this comes apart about particularly because I have in my mind's eye an image of what a perfect mother and wife should be, and in her whom I must call mother, I find no trace of that image. What's up, Papa? I am always making resolutions not to notice Mummy's bad example. I want to see only the good side of her, and to seek in myself what I cannot find in her. But it doesn't work. And the worst of it is that neither Daddy nor Mummy understands this gap in my life, and I blame them for it. I wonder if anyone can ever succeed in making their children absolutely content. Sometimes I believe that God wants to try me, both now and later on. I must become good, though. I must become good through my own efforts, without examples and without good advice. Then later on I shall be all the stronger. Who besides me will ever read these letters? From whom but myself shall I get comfort? As I need comforting often, I frequently feel weak and dissatisfied with myself. My shortcomings are too great, I know this, and every day I try to improve myself again and again. My treatment varies so much. One day Anne is so sensible and allowed to know everything, and the next day I hear that Anne is just a silly little goat who doesn't know anything at all, and imagines that she's learned a wonderful lot from books. I'm not a baby or a spoiled darling anymore, to be laughed at, whatever she does. I have my own views, plans, and ideas, though I can't put them into words yet. Oh, so many things bubble up inside me as I lie in bed, having to put up with people I'm fed up with, who always misinterpret my intentions. That's why in the end I always come back to my diary. This is where I start and finish, because Kitty is always patient. I'll promise her that I shall persevere, in spite of everything, and find my own way through it all, and swallow my tears. I only wish I could see the results already, or occasionally receive encouragement from someone who loves me. Don't condemn me, don't condemn me. Remember rather that sometimes I too can reach the bursting point. Yours, Anne. Monday, November 9th, 1942. Dear Kitty, yesterday was Peter's birthday. He was 16. He had some nice presents, among other things, a game of Monopoly, a razor, and a lighter. Not that he smokes much, it's just really for show. The biggest surprise came from Mr. Vandant when, at 1 o'clock, he announced that the British had landed in Tunis, Algiers, Casablanca, and Oran. This is the beginning of the end, everyone was saying, but Churchill, the British Prime Minister, who had probably heard the same thing in England, said, "This is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end. But it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Do you see the difference?" There is certainly reason for optimism. Stalingrad, the Russian town, which they've already been defending for 3 months, still hasn't fallen onto German hands. But to return to affairs in our secret den, I must tell you something about our food supply. As you know, we have some real greedy pigs on the top floor. We get our bread from a nice baker, a friend of Kufius. We don't get so much as we used to at home, naturally, but it's sufficient. 4 ration cards have also been bought illegally. Their price is going up all the time, and has now gone up from 27 florins to 33. All of that for a little slip of printed paper. In order to have something in the house that will keep, apart from our 150 tins of vegetables, we have bought 270 pounds of dried peas and beans. They are not all for us. Some are for the office people. They are in sacks which hang on hooks in our little passage inside the hidden door. Owing to the weight of the contents, a few stitches in the sacks burst open. So we decided it would be better to put our winter store in the attic, and Peter was given the job of dragging it all up there. He had managed to get 5 of the 6 sacks upstairs intact, and he was just busy pulling up number 6 when the bottom seam of the sack split and a positive hailstorm of brown beans came pouring down and rattled down the stairs. There were about 50 pounds in the sack, and the noise was enough to waken the dead. Downstairs, they thought the old house with all its contents was coming down on them. Thank God there were no strangers in the house. It gave Peter a moment's fright, but he was soon roaring with laughter, especially when he saw me standing at the bottom of the stairs like a little island in the middle of a sea of beans. I was entirely surrounded up to my ankles in beans. Quickly, we started to pick them up, but beans are so slippery and small that they seem to roll into all the possible and impossible corners and holes. Now, every time anyone goes downstairs, they bend down once or twice in order to be able to be present in order to be able to present Mrs. Van Dam with a handful of beans. I'd almost forgot to mention that Daddy is quite better again. Yours, Anne. P.S. The news has just come over the radio that Algiers has fallen. Morocco, Casablanca, and Oran have been in British hands for several days. Now we're waiting for Tunis. Tuesday, November 10th, 1942. Dear Kitty, great news. We want to take in an 8th person. Yes, really. We've always thought that there was quite enough room and food for one more. We were only afraid of giving Kufius and Kraler more trouble. But now that the appalling stories we hear about Jews are getting even worse, Daddy got hold of the 2 people who had to decide, and they thought it was an excellent plan. It is just as dangerous for 7 as it is for 8, they said, and quite rightly. When this was settled, we ran through our circle of friends, trying to think of a single person who would fit in well with our family. It wasn't difficult to hit on someone. After Daddy had refused all members of the Van Dam family, we chose a dentist called Albert Dussel, whose wife was fortunate enough to be out of the country when the war broke out. He is known to be quiet, and so far as we and Mr. Van Dam can judge from a superficial acquaintance, both families think he is a congenial person. Meep knows him too, so she will be able to make arrangements for him to join us. If he comes, he will have to sleep in my room instead of Margot, who will use the camp bed. Yours, Anne. Thursday, November 12, 1942. Dear Kitty, Dussel was awfully pleased when Meep told him that she had a hiding place for him. She urged him to come as soon as possible, preferably Saturday. He thought this was rather doubtful since he had to bring his card index up to date first, see to a couple of patients, and settle his accounts. Meep came to us with this news this morning. We thought it was unwise of him to put it off. All these preparations entail explanations to a number of people, whom we would rather keep out of it. Meep is going to ask if he can't manage to come on Saturday after all. Dussel said no. Now he is coming on Monday. I must say I think it's pretty crazy that he doesn't jump at the proposal, whatever it is. If he were to get picked up outside, would he still be able to get his card index, settle his finances, and see his patients? Why delay then? I think it's stupid I was going to put stupid and Daddy together. I think it's stupid of Daddy to have given in. No other news. Yours, Anne. Let's see. Tuesday, November 17, 1942. Dear Kitty, Dussel has arrived. All went well. Meep had told him that he must be at a special place in front of the post office at 11 o'clock, where a man would meet him. Dussel was standing at the rendezvous dead on time. Mr. Kufius, who knows Dussel too, went up to him and told him that the gentleman could not come, but asked whether he would just go to Meep at the office. Kufius got into a tram and went back to the office, while Dussel walked in the same direction. At 20 past 11, Dussel tapped at the office door. Meep helped him off with his coat so that the yellow star would not be seen, and took him to the private office, where Kufius engaged him in conversation until the chairwoman had gone. Then Meep went upstairs with Dussel under the pretext that the private office was indeed for something, opened the swinging cupboard, and stepped inside before the eyes of the dumbfounded Dussel. We all sat around the table upstairs, waiting with coffee and cognac to greet the newcomer. Meep showed him into our sitting room first. He recognized our furniture at once, and had not the remotest idea that we were there, above his head. When Meep told him, he nearly passed out with surprise. But luckily, Meep didn't give him much time and took him straight upstairs. Dussel sank into a chair, speechless, and looked at all of us for a while. He had to really take it all in at first. After a while, he stuttered, and you're not in Belgium then? First Miller night come, das Auto? The escape is sea night successful? We explained everything to him, that we had spread the story about the soldiers in the car on purpose to put people, and especially the Germans, on the wrong track should they try to find us. Dussel was again struck dumb by such ingenuity, and that he had explored, and when he had explored further out, Dussel was again struck dumb by such ingenuity. ingenuity. And when he had explored further our super practical, exquisite little secret annex, he could do nothing but gaze about in astonishment. We all had lunch together. Then he had a little nap and joined us for tea, tidied up his things a bit. Meep had brought them beforehand, and began to feel more at home, especially when he received the following typed secret annex rules. Vandant product. Prospectus and guide to the secret annex. Special institution. I can't read right now, man. Wow. Special institution as temporary residence for Jews and such like. Open all the year round. Beautiful, quiet, free from woodland surroundings in the heart of Amsterdam. Can be reached by tram 13 and 17, also by car or bicycle. In special cases, also on foot if the Germans prevent the use of transport. Board and lodging free. Special fat-free diet. Running water in the bathroom, all alas, no baths. And down various inside and outside walls. Ample storage room for all type of goods. Own radio center. Direct communication with London, New York, Tel Aviv, and numerous other stations. This appliance is only for residents' use after 6 o'clock in the evening. No stations are forbidden on the understanding that German stations are only listened to in special cases such as classical musical and the like. Rest hours 10 o'clock in the evening until 7:30 in the morning, 10:15 on Sundays. Residents may rest during the day, conditions permitting, as the directors indicate. For reasons of public security, rest hours must be strictly observed. Holidays outside the home, postponed indefinitely. Use of language, speak softly at all times, by order. All civilized languages are permitted, therefore no German. Lessons, 1 written shorthand lesson per week. English, French, mathematics, and history at all times. Small pets, special department. Permit is necessary. Good treatment available. Vermin accepted. Mealtimes, breakfast every day except Sundays and bank holidays, 9 a.m. Sundays and bank holidays, 11:30 a.m. approximately. Lunch, not very big, 1:15 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. Dinner, cold and or hot, no fixed time, depending on the news broadcast. Duties, residents must always be ready to help with office work. Baths, the wash tub is available for all residents from 9 a.m. on Sundays. The WC, kitchen, private office, or main office, whichever preferred, are available. Alcoholic beverages, only with doctor's prescription. End. Yours, Anne. Alright, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back later. Have a good day.